What is something someone said to you that hit you the hardest? What up? I got a new phone and went out of state for the weekend on the same day. I tried to activate the new phone, but they wouldn't let me until I was back in my home state. On the drive home, one of my friends called my brother, who I was with, to get a hold of me and tell me our other friend committed suicide. Later that day I got my new phone activated and got a text from the friend that committed suicide that just said what up. He must have sent it not long before he killed himself, not knowing I couldn't text back. I can't imagine how alone he must felt. I know it sounds conceited, but I can't help but think if I was able to talk to him, maybe he wouldn't have done it. When I was a little girl, I adored my dad, followed him everywhere, wanted to do everything he did, and I sure tried. He was never great at saying how he felt, but I always remember saying, "I love you, Daddy," and he always replied, "I love you, daughter." When I was a preteen, he had no idea what to do with me and backed off hard. I was super awkward as a preteen/teenager, and our relationship was super rocky. We had a lot of hurtful exchanges, and I spent as little time at home as I could. In the summer of 2007, I wrote him a letter telling him that the way he distanced himself from me was hurtful, and that I didn't know how to deal with the harshness of our current relationship, but that I still loved him and wanted to try and move past our painful interactions and rebuild our relationship. He never responded to most of it, but told me he was sorry and wanted to fix things too. That winter, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I moved home and took over household things, helping deal with doctors, physical therapists, and eventually hospice. My mom was, understandably, a mess, and I tried hard to hold it together for them. Things were getting bad. He was fading hard. One night I went in to say goodnight to him, and in a wave of nostalgia, I said, "I love you, Daddy." He hadn't spoken all day, his throat was dry, he was on massive doses of morphine, but he still whispered back to me, "I love you, daughter." He slipped into a coma that night and never spoke another word. I've lived a good life. I'm ready to go. My grandma, who is still physically and mentally healthy, I just wasn't ready for it. I love you. My grandma always believed in showing love, not saying it. She believed actions spoke louder than words. 4 days before she passed away, she told me she loved me. I was shocked at this, but I told her I loved her too. It was so unlike her. I now realize that maybe she said it because, with how weak she was due to the sickness, she felt like she couldn't show it. I don't know. Maybe I'll never know. But that was when I knew that she didn't have much time left. Beautiful. Uncle committed suicide when I was a little kid. When I asked my mom how he died, she said he was depressed. I asked, depression can kill someone? She said it can, if you're sad enough. Here I'm about 20 years later. I'm proud of you and your brother. From my dad. He grew up with a conservative religious military household. Old school mentality of dad works and only is involved in family when it's time to discipline. I was always shy and depressed and hated disappointing him, and it came to a point when I started driving and got my car stuck in snow that I didn't want to tell him about it. When my mom told him, she made it clear his kids were afraid of him, and he realized he had become his dad, which he hated. The change has been extreme, from a strict, work yourself to death, hard ass to a family guy. Told me on my wedding day that he was proud of me and my brother because he never heard it from his dad. You have an energy I've always found challenging, by way of saying I don't wanna talk to you anymore. Felt like out of the blue. Was meant to be kind, I think. Freaking ouch. Being good to people won't make them good to you. Edit. I didn't expect for this comment to blow up or get silver. Thanks so much, guys. I'd like to add to my comment. Though being good to others leaves you vulnerable to being taken advantage of, doesn't mean it's not worth giving certain people the benefit of the doubt. Do not let the lack of reciprocation discourage you from displaying kindness towards one another. We are humanity and we have each other. The day is always brighter when you radiate kindness. My father used to tell me this every time someone that I liked hurt me, which was quite common, because the people who I thought to be my friends were I didn't want to stop to be good, so I decided to direct my kindness to other people, more needed of my love, without expecting nothing in return. And I end up receiving so much more. Never grow up, just learn to be an adult. Thanks Dad. When I became a man I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. C.S. Lewis. No one gives a shwift about you. By my psychiatrist. Now hold on a secretary, he meant and explained it as, in life there are very few people who will be there for you all the time, and drop everything. No one cares about what you're doing, because everyone is selfish. That's just how life is. Do what you want to do, because it's your life. I don't know why, but it was the most comforting backhanded advice I've ever gotten. Thanks Dr. Point Murphy. You just feel like a chore now. I said this to a good friend of mine once, when we were living together, and instantly regretted it when I saw the genuine hurt in his eyes. Granted, he was in the depths of alcoholism at the time, and had seriously pissed me off, and tested my patience, but it still wasn't a productive thing to say, and I saw such true, shocked hurt in his eyes, that I stopped the argument right there, and started processing his reaction with him out loud. He is healthier, and off the booze now. Thank God. When you find someone better, please just let me down gently. Are you still with the person who said this to you? Yep. Love them so much. It's not exactly earth-shaking, but I never understood playing games with cheats. From time to time I'd use them, but I had friends who'd barely play a game without using cheats. Out of the blue, years after I was begin to gaming, I visited a friend who was playing GTA 5. She was playing with cheats and I asked her why. She says, all day I have to deal with consequences. This is the one time I don't have to. It completely 180'd my viewpoint. I've never had so much make sense, change my opinion, by one simple sentence. She suffers with depression, so for me, it ran a lot deeper than just playing games. It made me think twice about questioning the things people enjoy or how they live their lives. I never thought something so trivial could hold such poignance. I have some ugly ass toes, and at the time I wore Birkenstocks when somebody said that my toes were disgusting and shouldn't wear my sandals. My toes have not been seen in public since then about 20 years ago. Edit. Thanks for the great comments. Started off as ingrown toenails, the sides nearly touched, then fungus since I wasn't airing them out on the daily. Fast forward 20 years, recovering from a recent illness that made matters worse. It's taken about a year or so for the Ike to grow out, and plan to have them finally repaired. I feel this one big time. I have long grabby hand feet, and have been mortified by a teasing comment. I would refuse to wear sandals, was always so ashamed of them. But like fuck their feet. Why do we torture ourselves over things that we can't control and really don't matter at the end of the day? These feet are carrying us through every day, so I've decided to love them some more instead. Plus I can pick Swift up off the floor without bending over. Booyah. Nothing is enough for you. Never. My father said it so desperately, like he was asking me to stop doing something I never understood he meant. I truly felt so guilty for everything that happened in my family after that, but when he said it, I finally understood that my mind and soul were so full of anxiety that I never saw what I had, but what I lacked. My school friends used to refer to me as the friend who eats everyone's food and the one who's gonna be forever alone. I left school 5 years ago, and I still struggle eating around people and believing compliments. Me, I don't feel brave. I feel scared. My husband, being scared and doing it anyway is brave. I needed it. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I was 15, and my then friend who I also dated for a bit, 15 meters, said two things on two separate occasions. We had just finished a lesson at school, and in the excitement of being free I did a spin, arms out, with this huge smile on my face. Don't do that, it makes you look really unattractive. Talking about what we like to do on weekends. I talked about how my family and I love to go on long hikes in the country. Oh. Then why are you so fat? At the time I was a little overweight, but not huge. It crushed me on both occasions. Being a teenage girl is hard enough without having a twat for a friend. I'm 29 now, so I have the benefit of hindsight, but he was vile sometimes. One day, you'll wake up next to the ugly girl you're dating, and you'll shame our family. I would get excited that they thought I'd have a girlfriend. It doesn't matter if you hit a home run or strike out, I'll always be your #1 fan. My grandpa, when I was going through a very rough time. Hit hard both on each side of the situation. Then girlfriend, as we were breaking up, admitted she was nervous about doing it herself because she was worried I'd kill myself. I said I felt the same way, vice versa. And I still hear that conversation in my head. Last time I saw one of my friends, he told me catch you on the flip side. He hung himself a week later. Recently lost one of my good friends in a similar situation. He was a mutual friend of my best friend and they lived together. My best friend and him wrote a song, and then while my best friend took his son home he hanged himself. No blatant warning signs or anything. He just did it like it was an impulse. Last time I saw him was about 1 to 2 weeks beforehand and we were talking about starting a D&D campaign and what we were gonna do for Christmas. Sorry for your loss, man. No one wants to be around someone who's sad and blames others all the time. Granted, I was in high school and trying to get attention and some girl said it to me after I was doing my whole nice guy rant. After that I took it upon myself to change and haven't fallen back into that mindset since. Not me, but a friend of mine was smoking on a break at work and a woman did the whole "why smoke? Smoking's bad" thing, and he said he just didn't have a good reason to quit, to which she said, "Son, there are people you haven't even met yet who are going to need you here." I never forgot it. I quit just a month or so after that, and I remember it whenever I'm about to do something stupid, so daily. My father passed away 4 years ago from smoking. We always talked about how I wanted to become an engineer, he wanted to be one. But his father had forced him to study medicine and he didn't want to break his heart. I'm just about to finish my first year in engineering school and this made me tear up thinking, if he'd have quit, had he read that, and how he'd have felt if he was still here to see me. I'm sorry to open up, but I really had no one to tell this to without feeling extremely vulnerable. So I thank you for making me remember my father, and you're a wonderful person overall. And quitting smoking has only made you a better person. Never make fun of someone's laugh because they will be self-conscious about being happy. Very true. In middle school my friends would try and make me laugh cause it was a hiccupy laugh that sounded like a squeaky toy. Finally realized that they weren't making me laugh to make me happy, they were making me laugh so that they could laugh at me. I spent a couple years self-conscious and trying to change my laugh, so now the squeaky toy laugh only comes out when I'm not thinking about it. This happened when I was either 6 or 7. Mom, why are you always hugging me? Me, cause you're my mom. Mom, yeah, or you just want to feel my breasts. 20 years later, and that still bothers me, cause that was the first time I ever felt ashamed/dirty, but I couldn't understand why. Okay, this is by far the biggest WTF in here. What an absurd, ridiculous, super weird thing for a mother to say. Sure it was your mom, not some random lady, lol. I was like 11, and taking a bath my mom came in and like grabbed my tiny child nipples and said in this overly baby voice, "What are you doing growing boobies on me?" and like squeezed my nipples a few times exclaiming, "What are you doing?" Mostly it's harmless, but I'll never forget how like embarrassed and weird it felt. I much hate it when she touches me at all, and I'll wonder about that and always come back to that day. My mother once told me, "I think you've been miserable your entire life." In regards to my depression, it may sound like a horrible thing to hear, but she was not trying to upset me. She was basically saying, "You've done everything you can by yourself to try to get out of this depression, but I think it's always been there, so you need help." I wish you could just stop caring what he says. My dad, after I got the umpteenth emotionally manipulative text from my abusive ex-husband, this was over 2 years after our divorce was finalized. My dad doesn't say much on an emotional level, so when he does say something, I know it has deep meaning. I went no contact with my ex and remain so to this day. and I am a much happier and more serene person for it. Okay guys, don't forget to hit that sub button, also ring that shiny bell, like and share too, and check out other videos in our channel.